Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to try something a little different to kick things off.
Oh,
Yeah, usually we just hit you with the data right out of the gate. But for this topic, I need you to do a little mental time travel. So I want you to close your eyes, assuming you aren't driving, of course, and imagine you are 20 years old again.
for some of our listeners, that's just Tuesday. For others, well, we might need to dust off some cobwebs.
Right. But really try to inhabit that headspace. You are standing right on the edge of your adult life. You're about to pick a major or a trade or just, a direction. Now, be honest with yourself. How does that feel? Is it that classic, the world is my oyster feeling? Is it excitement? Or, if you're being really honest, is it terror?
It's a heavy question, and I think the texture of that fear has really changed over time.
That's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into a really provocative talk by Vlad Tenev.
Oh, yeah.
You probably know the name. He's the CEO of a massive financial services platform. But what you might not know is that his background is in pure mathematics.
Which is such a crucial detail. He isn't just a finance guy. He's a math guy who built a company on this idea of democratizing finance. And now he's turning that same brain toward AI.
He gave this talk that addresses the absolute elephant in the room for anyone under 30, and honestly, for anyone who plans on working for the next 10 years. He calls it the job singularity.
What a great term.
It is. And his argument is, oh, well, it's pretty counterintuitive. He basically says that we are approaching a moment where AI won't just take our jobs, but will explode the very definition of what a job even is.
He thinks we're heading toward a Cambrian explosion of new work.
Right. And that this new work is going to look, to our current eyes, a lot more like leisure.
It's a fascinating thesis because it tries to bridge that gap between, the doom narrative and the utopia narrative. But to really get why he thinks this, we have to look at his own history.
Yes.
Because Tenev argues there's this fundamental split between being 20 years old today versus being 20 years old back in, say, 2008.
Okay, let's go there. 2008. Tenev was a grad student at UCLA, studying pure math. Now, I have to push back a little here on his premise. He talks about 2008 as this era of technological optimism. I remember 2008. I remember Lehman Brothers collapsing. I remember friends of mine literally packing up their desks in cardboard boxes. It did not feel very optimistic to me.
That's a very fair point.
Oh.
The economy was definitely not optimistic. It was a complete disaster zone. But Tenev's distinction here is really interesting. He says that while the financial world was burning down, the technological world was handing out life rafts.
You're talking about the iPhone.
The iPhone and the App Store, yeah. Tenev tells this story about being at his parents' house, staying up all night, just reading the initial SDK, the software development kit for the iPhone.
Which is basically the instruction manual for how to build an app.
Exactly. And his takeaway wasn't just, oh, cool, a new phone. It was, this is a level playing field. It didn't matter that the banks were failing or that the old guard was crumbling. If you could code, you could build something on this device and reach millions of people instantly. That is technological optimism. The tool was the solution.
Okay, I see that. So the economy was the villain, technology was the hero, but today the vibe is different.
It's completely inverted. Tenev calls it the podcast circuit, anxiety.
Yeah.
He goes on these shows, and the questions aren't, what cool thing can I build?
No, the questions are, will my career exist in 5 years? Will humans even write code anymore? Will we write books?
Will we matter? It's the difference between a tool you use and a tool that might just replace you.
Right. In 2008, the iPhone was a tool you had to drive. You were the pilot. Today, AI is the first tool in human history that feels like it's capable of, leaving the toolbox. We don't know if it needs a pilot, and that creates a very specific kind of dread.
And this brings us right back to his math background. I thought this was such a sharp insight. We usually think of creative jobs as the human ones and math as the robotic one. But Tenev sees it completely differently.
He flips our assumptions about intelligence.
Totally. For a long time, we thought automation would start at the bottom of the cognitive ladder. Robots would dig ditches, then maybe file taxes, and only at the very, very end would they, write poetry or solve theorems.
Physical first, cerebral last.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Tenev views math as the absolute pinnacle of human intellectual activity. To him, pure math is the hardest thing a brain can possibly do.
So he's watching these AI models getting closer and closer to solving original math problems, what he calls mathematical superintelligence.
So his logic is, if the AI can conquer the summit, pure math, then the rest of the mountain's kind of easy.
Right. If it can do the hardest thing, it can definitely do the easier things like writing legal briefs or coding apps or writing our scripts.
Precisely. And that's why the smart kids are scared. The fortress is being breached from the top down.
That is a genuinely terrifying image. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So the smartest guy in the room is saying, yeah, the math proves we should be worried. But then he pivots. He says the way out of this fear isn't to look at the math, but to look at history.
He wants to zoom out. Way, way out.
Yeah.
And he admits, he's a technologist, not a historian, but he lays out this timeline of human work that really puts things in perspective. He starts with the Paleolithic era.
Hunters and gatherers.
Right. For the vast, vast majority of human history, work was synonymous with not dying. If you weren't hunting or gathering, you were starving. There were no careers. There was just survival.
And those jobs are gone. I mean, I don't know any professional hunter-gatherers unless you count people on reality TV shows.
And even they get craft services eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, those roles were subdivided and specialized. Then comes the Neolithic Revolution farming.
The first major disruption.
Huge disruption. Suddenly we had a surplus. We didn't need everyone to hunt. So what happened? We got potters, we got weavers, we got construction workers.
We got creative work for the first time because we weren't just trying to find calories all day.
Correct. And this trend just accelerates. Tenev shares this personal anecdote here that I found really grounding. He talks about his great-grandfather in Bulgaria.
Oh, the dragon story. This was great.
It's such a vivid image. His great-grandfather was a farmer. And legend has it, he was the first person in his entire village to see a car.
And he didn't say, oh, look, an internal combustion engine.
No. He ran back to the village screaming, there is a dragon in the fields. To his mind, that technology was a monster. It was totally incomprehensible.
So we go from the dragon viewer to his son, Tenev's grandfather, who was also a farmer. But then his son, Tenev's dad, becomes a professor of tourism.
Just think about the cognitive leap there. In 3 generations, the family goes from thinking a Ford Model T is a literal dragon to being the professor of tourism.
If the great-grandfather could see that, he wouldn't even recognize it as work. You talk about people going on vacation, that's your job.
It just wouldn't register as labor. And this is the key point Tenev is driving at. Technology destroys hard labor and replaces it with increasingly abstract, specialized roles. He uses that great bit about last names to bring this home.
The Fletcher joke.
The Fletcher joke, right. He asks the audience, who here is named Smith, Potter, or Fletcher? These names are just fossils of dead jobs. A Smith hit metal, a Potter made bowls.
And nobody in the audience knew what a Fletcher was except his son.
Because of Minecraft.
Yes. His kid plays Minecraft, so he knows a Fletcher is the person who makes arrows. And Tenev just drops the punchline. If your last name is Fletcher, your ancestors were essentially arms dealers.
It's funny, but it reveals something really profound about what we want. We want the job of making arrows by hand to go away.
We crave efficiency.
We do. Tenev argues that the goal of humanity is to increase dollars earned per hour of friction. We don't want to spend 3 days fletching a bow if a machine can do it in a second. We want to move up the stack.
Okay, so history shows we always trade hard work for abstract work. But Tenev says what's coming next isn't just another shift like farming to factories. He calls it the job singularity.
And this is where we need to be careful with definitions, because singularity gets thrown around a lot in tech.
Right.
Usually it refers to the moment AI becomes smarter than humans, the Terminator line. Tenev is talking about an economic singularity.
So, not Skynet.
No, not Skynet. Think about a singularity in physics. It's a point of infinite density. Tenev is predicting a point of infinite task generation. He compares it to the Cambrian explosion in biology.
Which was when life went from being like simple blobs to all these complex animals.
Exactly. For millions of years, life was pretty boring. Then suddenly, boom eyes, legs, teeth, armor, just this massive sudden diversity. Tenev thinks AI will trigger a Cambrian explosion for jobs.
We think we're running out of work because we define work as the stuff we do today.
Yes, we aren't factoring in the millions of new job species that are about to evolve.
And the main species he predicts is the single-person unicorn. I have to be honest, when I read this part of the transcript, I just stopped. A unicorn is a startup worth $1 billion. Historically, you need hundreds, maybe thousands of employees to build that kind of value.
You need an army, you need HR, legal, compliance, engineering, sales, customer support. It's a huge logistical nightmare.
So how does one person do all of that without having a complete nervous breakdown in week 1?
By having a world-class staff that isn't human. This is the mechanism that Tenev is betting on. He envisions a near future where you, as an entrepreneur, have an AI agent that is a world-class coder, another agent that is a world-class lawyer, another that handles all of your customer support.
So it's not just a chatbot helping you write an email, it's an agent that can actually do the job.
Correct. It's an orchestra. You become the conductor. You aren't playing the violin, you're just directing the tempo. And this lowers the barrier to entry for entrepreneurship to basically zero. If you have an idea, you have the staff to execute it.
That sounds incredible, but also chaotic. I mean, if everyone has $1 billion company in their pocket, doesn't that make the market just impossibly crowded?
It does. It creates a hyper-competitive environment. But Tenev argues this pushes humans toward the one thing AI can't easily replicate: meaning,
Yeah.
connection, experience.
Which leads us to the most controversial part of his talk.
The paradox of leisure.
Hmm.
This was my favorite part because it made me feel a little bit guilty. Tenev argues that as AI takes over all the hard stuff, the math, the coding, the logistics, human jobs will drift toward things that look an awful lot like hanging out.
He uses the sitting argument. Imagine a factory worker from 1920 looking at a modern office worker.
Okay.
The factory worker sees someone sitting in a climate-controlled room, typing on a keyboard, maybe checking Instagram, ordering lunch on an app. To the factory worker, that is not work. That's leisure.
You're just sitting there.
Exactly.
That's
But to the
right.
office worker, it is work. It's mentally draining. It's stressful, you know.
Now, project that forward. Tenev points out that today, we already have people getting paid to play video games. We have people paid to eat at restaurants on TikTok.
He called us out specifically.
He did.
He explicitly listed podcast bros as a category. People getting paid to talk to their friends on video. I mean, I wanted to be offended, but...
But look at us. We are sitting in comfortable chairs, talking. Are we lifting heavy objects? No. Are we mining coal? No. To a 19th century observer, this is technological unemployment. We're just playing.
But it feels like work. I had to prep for this.
And that is the paradox. In the AI future, our jobs might look like pure leisure to us today. We might be virtual world guides or competitive philosophers or something. It will look like a game. But to the person doing it, it will provide status, income, and meaning.
His point is that humanity is an expert at creating meaning. We will always find a way to make something difficult and status-driven, even if it's just moving pixels around. So if math goes to the AI and coding goes to the AI, and we're all just experience curators, does that mean human achievement is dead? Tenev actually brings up a case study here that I found really reassuring.
The deep blue reassurance.
Right, chess.
This is the perfect historical parallel. In 1997, IBM's Deep Blue beat Gary Kasparov. It was a massive cultural moment. The headline was basically, "Machines are smarter than us, chess is over."
Yeah, the logic was sound. Why would anyone watch two humans play chess if a computer can beat both of them with one processor tied behind its back?
But what actually happened?
Chess is huge right now. It's booming. I mean,
Yeah.
the Queen's Gambit, online streaming, it's bigger than it's ever been.
Because we don't watch chess to see perfect moves. We watch chess to see humans struggle. We care about the narrative. We care about the tension.
That's a great point.
Tenev argues that even if AI becomes a single-person unicorn generator, we will still crave human stories. We don't watch the Olympics to see if a human can outrun a Ferrari. We know the Ferrari wins. We watch to see who the fastest human is.
That's a really comforting thought. It's not about the raw output. It's about the struggle.
It is. And that leads to his final piece of advice for that terrified 20-year-old we imagined at the beginning of this. He tells them, don't trust the predictions.
Which is a little ironic, considering he just spent 30 minutes making some pretty big predictions about singularity.
Yeah. But he backs it up with a really damaging piece of advice he himself received in the 90s. His teachers, people who ostensibly knew better, told him not to become a computer programmer.
In the 90s, that's like telling someone not to buy Bitcoin in 2010.
The logic was, oh, those jobs are being outsourced. Software's going to be a commodity. Don't even bother. If he had listened to that rational prediction, he never would have built his company. He would have missed the biggest economic boom in history.
So his point is that predictions, even the ones that sound really logical, are often just broadly wrong.
Exactly. So his advice is passion over prediction. If you love something, whether it's coding or writing or painting, just do it. Because the way that skill interacts with AI might be completely unexpected. You might be the Fletcher of the AI age, making bespoke arrows for a digital world we can't even imagine yet.
So let's wrap this up. We've gone from the dragon in the field to the single-person unicorn. What's the verdict on the job singularity?
I think the verdict is that fear is a survival mechanism. Tenev reminds us that we are hypervigilant about threats because that's how we survived the Paleolithic era. But we are also the most adaptable species on the planet.
The future isn't a world without work.
No, it's a world where work is redefined so drastically that we might not even recognize it yet.
He ended with that great thought that 20-year-olds today will build things that we are simultaneously scared of and excited by.
Which is the history of all progress, really, from the car to the iPhone to the AI agent.
It is. So I want to leave you with a question that Tenev's talk sparked for me. We talked about the single-person unicorn running a billion-dollar empire with an AI staff, and we talked about work looking more and more like leisure.
Uh-oh. Here comes the challenge.
If your current hard job, the spreadsheets, the emails, the meetings, was fully automated tomorrow, and you had that world-class staff of AI agents waiting for your command, what leisure activity do you love so much that you would turn it into your new billion-dollar solo career?
Would you be a professional traveler, a competitive gardener, a builder of virtual cities?
Or maybe just a really, really good podcaster as something to chew on. As always, thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
We'll see you next time.